Okay, so you need to kind of memorize this right here, right? A sine or a cosine graph with this C over B stuff and the D, all of this kind of got to be memorized, right? So we're going to start with an easy one, this one right here. Okay, first of all, I would figure out your A and your period. That's what you kind of want to do first. A, period, and the D. So if you do, you have to look at like what is happening in this, and this is starting at a cosine, right? So it's like maximum, interval, minimum, interval, maximum, right? So you know that that's cosine if you wanted to start it with that. So, hang on. Maximum, interval, minimum, interval, maximum. That's a cosine graph. So if we go with that, I could see that all my intervals are at -1, right? So that is your, hang on, that's your D. And then from that, you're looking that they're going 2 above it. So here's the interval, 2 above it and 2 below it, right? So that means that your A is 2. So A is 2. Okay, the period is important so you can get B. The period, you've got to complete this whole pattern right here, this whole pattern, and then it'll be 1 period. So if I go from 0, when it starts at 0, it's really easy. Maximum, interval, minimum, interval, maximum. Then we end at 2 pi, right? So there's 1 whole period. I did 1 whole graph. I did 1 whole pattern in from 0 to 2 pi. So our period is 2 pi, okay? And that's important because our B is found by doing that the period equals 2 pi over B. And if the period is 2 pi, then B must be 1. Okay, so let's put that over here. B equals 1. Okay, now the C, we're going to use C over B. If you remember our formula up here, right here, let me bring this formula down. For the cosine, hang on. Duplicate, let me bring it over here. Okay, so the C value, right? Was I on this one? Yes, I was. All right, our C value is found by doing like how it doesn't go any, where was the start of the graph, I guess? And the start of the cosine graph is at 0, so that means the C value is 0. If it moved and the start of the value was different, then I'll show you when we do the sine version of this. So the C is 0. This is for the cosine version of it. And you know that, here's our formula right here, and we're just going to plug it in. So 2 cosine, B is 1. We don't have to put the 1 there. X, C over B is going to end up being 0, minus 1. So we get 2 cosine X minus 1. So that matches right here. Okay, because we started the pattern at a cosine pattern. Okay, if we need to start the pattern, they want a sine equation. The sine graph, we know, starts with the pattern. So this is a sine one. Starts at the pattern like this. Okay. Oh, hang on. It goes interval minimum right here. So minimum interval, maximum interval, because it is going down first. Okay. So we're going to have to start that a little different. It has a shift. So your A is still going to be 2, but it's going to be negative because it went interval minimum. It didn't go interval maximum, right? Our pattern didn't do that. And if it's starting at pi over 2, that means it used to be at 0. It used to be here, but it got shifted to the right. And shifted right means it was actually negative. Okay, so that means our C value is negative pi over 2 because it was shifted to the right, which actually means -2, opposite of what you would think. And our D is still -1. And our B, the same thing, because it's the same period, our B is still 1. Okay, so then we're going to take all those and you'll see it's the same pattern. -2 sine, the B is 1, x minus pi over 2 over 1, which is just pi over 2, minus 1. Okay. Now, why did she write this one? I will explain. If you say, no, this graph would have hit over here and started here. If this was the start, you could say, okay, this would be negative pi over 2. So it depends on where you want to start the graph. Then this graph goes interval max, interval min, interval. So you could write it that way. So it depends on where you want to start it, but you have to find a start point from the pattern, wherever you want to start it, and make sure it matches with your emes and memes, right? So let's try another one. This one here, okay, if we are starting with cosine, does she want cosine on this too? She does. No. Oh, they only want sine. Okay, they only want sine. So we can't start. If we wanted to do a cosine one, we would start right here because that's maximum, interval, minimum, interval, maximum. Okay, we're not going to do that. We're starting here. So this is interval max, interval, min, interval. All right, so interval max, that's going to be a sine graph, right? So I know it's sine. Now let's see. I notice my D is 0. I'm getting the easy stuff out of the way because all the intervals are at the x-axis. And I notice from the intervals, it goes above 2 and below 2. So my A is 2. And it is positive because it goes interval max first, right? Not interval min. All right. Now, we need our period. Now, the easy way to do the period is always go from 0, no matter where, until like the end of any pattern. So this pattern goes max, interval, min, interval, max. So that's a cosine pattern. It doesn't matter. The whole graph fit in there. So from 0 to 4 pi over 3, the period is 4 pi over 3. So, oops, I missed that. Period is 4 pi over 3. And remember that 4 pi over 3 equals the B, or the period, I'm sorry. 4 pi over 3 equals 2 pi over B, right? Because 2 pi over B is how we always find the pattern. So now we're going to cross multiply. 6 pi equals 4 pi B divided by 4 pi. And B is 6/4, which is really 3/2. Okay, so B is 3/2. All right, and we're matching up with what they have. And so we need to get our C value. It's pretty easy to see this. When the second point is the origin, or the zero, not the origin, but the 0, right? You just go shifting back that way. So we're going backwards or left pi over 3. So it's positive pi over 3 when you put it in there. Positive pi over 3. All right, so we're going to write this as a sine graph. Y equals 2 sine. We're going to put our B and then x minus. Now we need C over B, which C over, so pi over 3. Do they want us to put that in there? Yes. No, they just want us to put the pi over 3 there. We're good. Pi over 3. And then plus 0 in the back you don't have to write, okay? They didn't ask you to write it as cosine, but we could. I won't do that right now. Let me go back up to the top, and I'll do the tangents after this. Okay, we know this one is not a sine or cosine because the parabolas, right? So we're going to treat it like a sine or cosine, and then we'll just write secant or cosecant. So if we go with cosecant first, right, we are looking for interval max, interval min, interval, okay, because that's the pattern. So interval minimum, okay, it doesn't go max, interval maximum, interval. So that's what we're looking at, right? So this is going to be a negative. We know it's going to be negative. So A is going to be a negative number. We'll figure that out. I notice all my intervals are at 0. Okay, so D is 0. And I notice that they go 2 below and 2 above, right? This is 2 below to get to that low point, and it's 2 above to get to the high point. So that's going to be a 2. Okay, the C value. Again, look at the 0 and see how far shifted it was. You can see her little arrow. It went backwards. It went left to 4 pi over 3. So we're going to say it's positive. Oops, I'm sorry, not 4 pi. Negative 4/3 pi. We're going to say it's positive 4/3. No pi. I keep saying pi. All right. Now they want you to do over B for this. So we're going to do, oh, we didn't get our B yet. Sorry. So our B value, all right, is going to be based on the period. So just watch this. We've got to get one whole pattern in there. Now you can't take anything from the y-axis because there's no point from there. So we're going to go from negative 4/3 and complete a whole pattern. We've got interval, minimum, interval, maximum, interval, and we ended at 8/3, right? So negative 4/3, so 4/3 to 8/3 basically. 4/3 plus 8/3 is 12/3, which is 4. So the period is 4. Now, why did I not make the 4/3 negative? Because I'm just counting distance, right? So the distance from here is 4/3 and here is 8/3. So it's 12/3. Okay. Now our B value, period equals 2 pi over B, right? So 4 equals 2 pi over B. Cross multiply, 4B equals 2 pi. Divide by 4, B is pi over 2, right? So pi over 2. And now that we have all those pieces, we are going to write, but with cosecant. So the 2 cosecant, the B is pi over 2. Okay. The C is 4/3. I'm running out of room. We don't have a 0, so we don't have to write that in the end. So here is that formula. Okay, now to write it in cosine, do they want, oh, they don't want it in cosecant, or secant, sorry. They only ask for cosecant. That's awesome. If they wanted you to write it in terms of cosecant, you would have to start from here, right? So you kind of got to do the sine and cosine patterns. Okay, my Apple Pen is going to die, so I'm going to end this video, and then I will